Hey, Legion, how y'all doing? I'm back with another book review. Now, this book review is a little bit different. I was reading a lot before I started this whole YouTube thing, and then when I did, I got caught up in YouTube. I stopped reading for the most part, and this is probably the first book I've read in a while. And the one thing about that is, as far as reading goes, I'm a casual reader, so I don't know when I'm going to do a book review from book to book. It all depends on the book itself. Now, this is a book that I got back all the way back in Easter from my sister's husband, and he got it for me because he got it for like $5, and he wanted to borrow it. He hadn't borrowed it yet. And the ironic thing is when it came out, I wanted to tell him about it, and for whatever reason, I didn't have a chance to tell him about it. And we both like Kim Smith a lot, right? And like I said, I read the book in Easter time, and then for it took a while. I'll tell you why in a little bit. And then when I finally finished it, I got put on night shift, so I kept putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. And I said, "Well, this heck with it." And I said I was going to review it, so I'm finally going to review it now. I finished this a long time back, right before I started night shift. And it says the book's called Tough Shit. Kevin Smith says life advice from a fat lazy slob who did good. And sometimes he really overdoes it with some of the jokes. Like every chapter has shit in it. Like let's get the shit started, shit I made, losing my shit, pig new and it just gets, it's just overkill. And the way this book starts is, I remember I just saw a movie on Netflix called Kevin Smith Burn in Hell, and that's back when he did speaking engagements. It was like a two-parter, and a lot of it was talking about the unfortunate death of his dad. When I feel bad for him for that, and like he said, his dad died screaming, which is a horrible thing to have happen to your dad, you know, or your parent or family member. And my condolences to him for that, and also the stuff revolving around the idea and the making of the movie Red State, which is a really good movie if you get a chance to see it. And basically, a lot of this is pretty much talking about that, like verbatim, almost verbatim, which makes it a very slow, boring read. Well, at least that part, because I knew all that stuff already, because I just saw the special. It's just like, as far as, I mean, it wasn't as bad as, I'm a big George Carlin fan, and he did a book that I had one of my favorite titles of all time called Napalm and Silly Putty, and I wanted to get him, and one friend of mine knew I liked it, and he was kind enough to get me the book, and I read it, and all that was, aside from the clever title, all that was bits from his comedy routines that you pretty much knew by heart. And it's like, I felt, if I would have bought this I would have felt ripped off. I mean, the guy asked me if I liked the book. I said yes, very much, because it was kind enough for him to get it for me. But if I would have bought it, I would have felt ripped off. And for the most part, this is what it's about, the passing of his dad and the making of Red State. And also, which leads for a very slow read, and also somewhat depressing. And also, he was talking in graphic detail about his dad siring him, you know, making him, including talking about his dad's balls and semen and his penis and his mother and them making, and for him making the having sex, and it's done in such graphic detail. It's in really poor taste, especially when his dad passed away. And it's just, he just hits you over the head with these things, just like those references, the shit in a chapter and stuff like that. It leads for a very slow, bad, boring read for them until it starts getting good. And I started skipping ahead to see if the subject matter was going to change, and it started getting some really interesting. And it does, thankfully. But I mean, there's nothing worse than a really bad, boring read. Because I remember at the dollar store buying Wes Craven. I like Wes Craven, the horror film director. He did a book called Fountain Society. I bought for $1 hardcover, and that book was one of the dumbest things I've ever read in my life. It sucked. The whole thing sucked. Thankfully, like I said, seems like it takes forever. It's only like, how many pages? I can't even remember. It's only like 250 pages, but it takes forever forever to get to what it's supposed to be doing, you know. And thankfully, it starts getting good, and then it gets into stuff like him and Harvey Weinstein, him starting to get into the film business with the movie Clerks, and he sold his like comic book collection to make the movie. And at the time, it was the most successful independent movie ever made. And Clerks is really good back in 93, 94. And like I said, meeting with Harvey Weinstein and Miramax. And Miramax was a division of Buena Vista. And Buena Vista is like the big parent company for Walt Disney. And then you know, in the 80s, Walt Disney, when it branched into Touchstone and Hollywood Pictures. And then, like I said, Miramax and Dimension also. Well, anyways, and that's what happens there. He talks about that. He talks about what an incredible pain in the ass Bruce Willis was to work with in the movie Cop Out. Because he said at first, he had an acting gig in his movie in Die Hard 4, or Live Free and Die Hard, I think it was called. And he was in it. And he was saying he was really nice to work with, but then as a director, he had to direct him in Cop Out, what I still haven't seen yet. He said he was a terrible person to work with. And he said he used to be such a fan because he was, like me, he was a big fan of the show Moonlighting in the 80s, back when network TV was good. It's not like today where they just make a show about a kid getting slapped. You know, that's that show, The Slap. And, you know, I don't know, network TV's really gone downhill. And he was such a big fan of Moonlighting, and he was talking about that, and what incredible pain it was to work with him, and then what a trooper Tracy Morgan was. And also, like, the problems he had with Zack and Miri making porno, as far as, like, the title of this movie, because it had the word porno in it, and, like, the MPAA didn't want them advertising, putting the word porno in, like, the ads for the theaters. And, like, in the early hours, it was just called Zack and Miri, and then later on in the night, when they played, it was called Zack and Miri Making Porno, and he was, like, talking about that. And he talked about speaking engagements and stuff. And it started getting good when got away from the stuff he mentioned with his father, unfortunate father passing, and also Red State, which he talked about a lot, pretty much the whole thing in that Kevin Smith Burn in Hell. So, I mean, because of that, it didn't become a page turner until it started changing subject matter. And like I said, it dragged on for a while just because it took forever to get to some interesting stuff. And that's what really hurts the book. That's why I was thinking about reviewing it. I just kept putting it off and putting it off. I kept saying I was going to review it, and I said, oh, the hell with it. You know, but I wanted to review it, and I reviewed it now, and I'm glad I did. So, if it was just like really interesting stuff, I probably would give it an 8.5 or a 9. But because it had all the stuff that brought it down and became a boring read at times, I have to give it a very mild 6.5. For Kevin Smith's Tough Shit. That's what it's called. Kevin Smith's Tough Shit. So, there you have it. Right now I'm reading Hulk Hogan's book. I think it's Hulk Hogan Life Outside the Ring. Now, it might be a while. I mean, because, like I said, I don't know when I'm going to get done with the book. It's whenever I get done, because I read at a casual pace. So, I hope you like this book. Tough Shit by Kevin Smith. And also, boy, it's really cold outside, so stay warm, everybody. Until next time, take care of my Legion. See you later, babe. See you later, buddy. Babe, what am I talking about anymore?